paper for now. Okay, welcome everyone. Can I get a motion to return to open session, please?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Here.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Woodland Community Consolidated Board meeting for December 16th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Joe?
Yes, here.
Lizzie,
Here.
Renee,
Here.
Corey,
Here.
Anna,
Here.
Brianna,
Here.
Carla.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the middle school choir. Are they?
They are on video.
Oh, on video. Okay.
They're coming in.
To the middle school choir.
Process of what they will be doing or what they are working on in their choirs.
Oh, okay, that's great. Okay, before we get started, we have a statement from our attorney. Ray, did you want to come forward, please?
Is there a microphone there? Let's see.
Yep.
So, the Board of Education has received communications and comments from members of the public regarding the decision of a circuit court in a civil lawsuit involving one of our members. And the board's asked me to make a comment with regard to that. While we welcome and appreciate input from our community stakeholders, we now find it necessary to clarify a few things about the matter and the authority of the Board of Education. First, the civil lawsuit in question was a personal cause of action brought by one of our members in their personal capacity. Our members have the right to seek judicial relief from a court regarding personal matters and do not need to seek the consent nor the permission of the Board of Education in order to do so. The lawsuit and underlying proceedings were controlled by the Board of Education as the member's status as an elected official was irrelevant to the lawsuit. Most importantly, no resources of the district were expended based upon the member's decision to file the underlying lawsuit. The lawsuit was a personal matter and not done in the member's official capacity. Second, the underlying lawsuit has not concluded and is still ongoing. As such, the order which some have raised concerns about is still subject to withdrawal and modification. More importantly, however, the outcome of the civil lawsuit does not provide the Board of Education with the legal authority to remove a duly elected or appointed member under Illinois law. Some communications have referenced individuals seeking a recall for this member. There is no legal ability for a recall under Illinois law for a school board member. While we recognize the passion and concern from some pertaining to this matter, it is not the role of the Board of Education to monitor or judge the merits of civil litigation involving any of our members. We will allow the individual litigants in that case to handle the matter with the court. Our focus will remain on creating opportunities for our students to reach their potential by providing exceptional learning experiences in a nurturing learning community.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I say something
Aye.
briefly?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I just wanted to briefly address the board.
I know you all have been waiting for a statement from me. First thing I'd like to say is I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I take the security of my family very, very seriously. However, as you all know, I'm a member of the board. I am not the board. So what that means is that when I went to court, I felt threatened. I felt like I needed to protect my family, and I do not regret that. I will not try to educate the public on the law. That's not what I'm here for. However, the trial court, as Ray just said, is not the final court. The case is still open, and I imagine it will be for some time. I was elected by the people of this district because they trust me. I don't have any inspirations to acquire higher office. I've read the emails, the good, the bad, the ugly. I will not resign. I will not step down. I will continue to do the work that I was elected to do, and I won't allow this to be a distraction to the district. I'm accessible, obviously, because people know how to email me and call me if anybody has any questions, but I am moving on from this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we'll turn over to Dr. Casey for her superintendent's showcase.
Okay. Good evening, Board. Tonight, I am very happy to share with you our middle school is being showcased, and part of our middle school is our Learning Resource Center. And Andrea Perrin is going to be very humble, I'm sure, but if you've ever been up to our, what we call our LRC, our Library Resource Center at the middle school, it is definitely a place for all of our students to get what they need from any of their experiences here. So she's going to give you a little bit of a snippet of what happens there, but it is something that we're extremely proud of. And I know she'll invite you, but if you haven't had a chance to go up there, please contact Mrs. Drake, and she would love to show it to you.
Right here? Is this okay? Okay, good. All right, well, good evening, everyone. I wanted to say thank you for giving me a few minutes to share some of this year's highlights from the Middle School Learning Resource Center. And I wanted to start by acknowledging my wonderful, amazing assistants, Sandy Drews and Juliet Davies. We definitely could not do the things that we do without the two of them. When I was preparing for this presentation, I decided that it would be best if you hear from a few of the people who use the LRC on a daily basis. Our students, our teachers, and our larger District 50 community. I don't have time to play all of my interviews, but hopefully you'll watch them after this meeting and enjoy them. My first interview is from a 6th grader, Emily.
Sorry. This worked earlier.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm in 6th grade. The class came to the library for a book project. I chose Stan Lee for my project. I was not able to find what I needed in the library in stock. His parent helped me find exactly what I needed online in our school databases.
That was really tricky because even though she's wearing a mask and you can't see her lips, they should have been moving. So I don't know what happened with that, but we'll try the next one. The next video I have is one of our Spanish teachers, and she's going to talk about WeVideo. WeVideo is a web-based video creation program that teachers and students can use, and I give support to anyone that needs it.
This all worked earlier. I am so sorry.
Technology's great when it works.
Uh-huh. There she is.
My name is Jessica Myers, and I'm a Spanish teacher at the middle school. I mainly use WeVideo for speaking presentations in my classroom, as well as opportunities for students to read aloud in Spanish.
That was also kind of tricky. The next video I have is from a 7th grade language arts teacher, and she's going to talk about an event that we just hosted last week.
I'm Mrs. Hurley. I teach 7th grade language arts and advanced language arts. And I believe that students and staff are very fortunate and blessed to have a fantastic LRC at WMS, Woodland Middle School. Ms. Perrin goes above and beyond to make sure students have access to books they find interesting. She and Mrs. Drews and Mrs. Davies just arranged a book tasting for all 4 of my LA classes so that my students would have something new to read over winter break and have accrued a list of future reads that they might find interesting. The students love the event, and even the reluctant readers are going home with something that fits their interests.
And there's some pictures on the next screen. There's no video. So those are just a few pictures from our event that we hosted last week. My next video is a 6th grader. His name is Roberto, and he's going to tell you how much he loves our Spanish books.
Hola, mi nombre es Roberto y me gusta mucho esta librería porque hay mucha cantidad de libros que en español que puedo leer. Hi, my name is Roberto and I love this library because it's so expensive type of book in Spanish that I can read.
Okay, my next student video, my last student video, is from Inia. And Inia is going to talk about her experience in our library this year.
Hi, my name is Inia. I'm in 8th grade. I like the library because it raises awareness for people who are different. It teaches people something new about their classmates and the world around them. I recently asked Ms. Perrin to make a collection of books about people who are deaf and hard of hearing, like me, and she did. It could teach kids about what life is like for people with hearing loss and help them understand it.
Okay, the next screen, please. I'm proud to say that I have been supporting the District 50 EDI initiative before it was an initiative. I've been diversifying our collection for probably the last 8 or 9 years. We maintain a database of diverse authors whose books can be found in our library collection. So if you're looking for an author from Cuba, we can look in our database and find you an author from Cuba. We are just starting what we're calling a critical cataloging project to update some of the outdated and no longer appropriate search terms that students might find when looking for a book. Last year, I received a RAILS grant, which allowed me to purchase diverse books for the collection, participate in a podcast, and host a bookmark contest. The bookmark contest we called Who Are You? And it was created to have students, showcase their cultures, their ethnicity, their interests. We had 38 students enter the contest, and we just recently selected 8 as our winners. Here are some of our winners. These are 5. And you can see on the bottom the countries that the students talked about in their bookmark as far as what they represented. These bookmarks are going to be professionally printed and distributed in our library after winter break. I'm proud to say that my efforts to diversify are working. Just recently, when I was walking through the library, I overheard a 6th grader say this to her teacher. She looks like me, she has the same name as me, and she lives by Chicago like me. So she saw herself on the cover of that book. So that, means it's working. We can skip ahead. I don't have time to play theirs. And there's a book that I delivered. We had a team that went on adaptive pause, and he was desperate for some books, so I took some to his house. You can keep skipping. We have some things that are coming up in the library that we're looking forward to. Our Battle of the Books competition, voting for Rebecca Caudle books. We're going to be meeting hopefully soon to work on some policies that we need to work on, and purchasing some books from another grant that I received this year. And I wanted to finish up by saying a big thank you to the other District 50 librarians who are super hardworking also. And we put together a quarterly report. You can see there on the link if you want to look at it later. All the librarians, put their highlights out there so you can see what they've been doing also this year. Thank you very much for this time. Does anyone have any questions about our library? Anything?
Thank you. That was a great presentation. What is Battle of the Books?
Oh, Battle of the Books. Well, if Mr. DeRosa was here, he would be able to tell you because I've had 2 of his children on my Battle of the Books. Oh, there he is.
He's here.
Yeah.
Hi, so I'm sorry, I had hip surgery last week, so I cannot be there tonight. I am so sorry to miss your presentation because what you were just talking about, I think, is absolutely what we need to be doing with our libraries and the way that we're bringing kids in and helping them see themselves in the books that they read. It's just music to my ears, and that's so exciting. And God, I love Battle of the Books. My kids thought that was just one of the most enjoyable experiences they had in middle school. So it is really good to hear your voice. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. We did it last year. We had to do it online, and I think this year we're going to have to do it online also. So, but it was still the same experience and fun all the same.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, well, thank you. Again, you did excellent job, and it was, now I want to go visit the library, so.
See?
Yes.
That was the point. It worked. That was awesome. Thank you. Great job.
Okay, see ya.
We do have one more piece of
Yes.
our superintendent showcase tonight, which is really from the Board of Education. So if I could have Mr. Ray Hauser please come up here. So Ray Hauser, we are. Ray has worked with the Board of Education for, are we at 13 years? 13 years. This is his last official board meeting after working with us for that long. He has been an extreme supporter of our students, of our children, of our staff, and we are so, so sorry to see you retire. But on behalf of the district, Dr. Little and the board, we have a little something for you to let you know what an impact you've made on all of us, what you've taught us, and how much we appreciate you. So thank you so much. Well, one of them is a card you can unwrap, but you can unwrap this one if you like. This is the really important one.
We want you to wear this and think of us.
Every third Thursday.
W.
baby. Thank you.
Well,
Oh, do you want to say something, sir?
yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed the 13 years I've worked in this district. I represent close to 100 school districts, and this is one of my favorite school districts. The school district is well run. I enjoy the administrators here. I enjoy the teachers here. I enjoy the students here, and I enjoy the union that's here. I've been lucky enough to have a good relationship with all of that. And thank you very much, Lori. Thank you very much, Carla. Thank you, Board of Education. I'll miss you guys. Call me back anytime just to watch. I do my exit.
Exit, yes. One more time?
Yes. Way to retirement.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Ray.
Bye. Be safe. Okay, next up, we have citizen statements. Up first, we have Mr. Anthony McIntyre. If you want to come forward, please, and state your name and your relationship with the district, please.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Anthony McIntyre. I am the founder and president of the Aunt Mound Foundation, which is a national nonprofit organization headquartered in Waukegan, but we service the entirety of the county. Well, national nonprofit, I guess that includes everybody, huh? I am also a Navy veteran. I served my country in the first Gulf War, so I wanted to make sure to put that out there. I came here today because, so there's a movie that I'm not sure if everybody has seen it, but it's called A Time to Kill. Did anybody see that movie?
A Time to Kill.
A Time to Kill. Matthew McConaughey is the main character in that movie. So there's a scene at the end of the movie where Matthew McConaughey, as the attorney, is talking to the jury, and he's trying to tell the jury I want you to imagine what he was trying to get them to imagine, and he told them to close their eyes and think about it. And what he was trying to do was to get them to understand the word empathy. You know, put yourself in the other person's shoes. So he told this whole horrible story. Of course, this was in a time of racism being rampant in this country, and the jury just sat there nonchalant until he said to them, now picture this as being your child. So in this case, I'm saying to you all, empathy is a very powerful thing. It is very useful. I'm pretty certain that everybody here would, when you're educating your kids, the ones that are even here that you all are in charge of in this district, you would tell them to do the same thing. Words matter. The First Amendment gives us the right to speak. It's freedom of speech, and that's great. But we still have responsibilities that go along with that. I've been watching the news, I've been reading newspapers, and this is not a time in this country where individuals should be able to say anything. Ms. Amin and everything that's going on with her in the media right now is really offensive to me. I think that a person exercising their First Amendment right to speak needs to come with some accountability and responsibility. I'm not here to speak about things from a legal standpoint, I'm not an attorney, but ethically, morally, to issue out death threats to someone who is simply speaking how they believe they should be speaking from their position, whatever that position may be, is cruel, is wrong, and as much as I respect everybody's right to do so, I just wonder, as a board, at what point, respectfully to the attorney, at what point do you all as a collective body recognize that you should speak as a collective body against things that are just wrong, just simply wrong? Move away from the courts, move away from the legalities of it, and just simply say this is wrong, as a message to young people to stand up for what you believe and what you know is right and wrong. I just want to put that out there for you all, and hopefully that you'll think about it and say to yourselves, should we collectively take on position and say, you know what, I want to condemn threats against a member of my own body? Because today, it could be Ms. Amin. Tomorrow, it could be one of you. And I just hope that you all will consider that. I don't want to take up much of your time. I just really wanted to say that, make that point. I will also say that my nonprofit, we deal a lot with the city of Gurnee, the village of Gurnee, I'm sorry, and we do a lot to try and help the youth in this area. We will continue to do so. I don't live in Gurnee, but we service Gurnee. And I hope that if there's anything that we as a nonprofit organization do to assist you all, please just let us know, and we will be readily available for you. I don't know if y'all have any questions for me. If not, I will say goodnight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, citizen statements, we don't ask questions. We just hear your statement and then take them and then discuss them collectively as a board in another, if appropriate, in another part of the meeting. But we don't respond back. But thank you for your statement this evening. Okay, next up we have Mr. Clyde McLemore.
Good evening. My name is Clyde McLemore. I'm the executive
Oh,
director.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you put your mask back on, please?
I'm the executive director.
I'm sorry, sir.
Pardon me?
Can you cover your nose? Thank you.
I'm the executive director for Black Lives Matter Lake County. I'm also here to speak to this board on behalf of a trusted board member, Ms. Renee Amin. First, I want to stress that being a board member is a voluntary position. For one to be trusted and voted on the school board, a citizen of this district, they must have trusted and believed in her. Obvious, her work is commendable. How could this board not support her? I read in the newspaper where the judge is ordering her to pay fees. However, I do not agree with the judge's order. It is critical that this board step up and support Ms. Amin. This should be a motion on this board to pay these fees, and Ms. Amin shouldn't have to come out of her pocket at all. White people do it all the time. But because Ms. Amin is a black woman, there's two sets of rules. She's a black woman with a degree. It scares some white folks, and it scares their judge. Our country been raised on racism. When does it stop? Ms. Amin had been white, there wouldn't be no threats to her or her family. Now, for those who say, I don't have a color problem, I don't have a color problem. I see everything black. I came from a black womb, entered into a black world, filled with black devils, doing everything black that was bad. I entered a black flesh that conceived a black child, who taught on a black slate by the way of a black board. I learned about the black market, body sold on auction blocks, money sold for more than its value. But I don't have a color problem. But bad luck keep passing my way by way of a black cat. So I write a letter and blackmail it. I have been blacklisted for speaking about the dark continent. You see, my mind is like a sponge absorbing, yet like a mirror reflecting. The rain clouds have come over the rainbow, and now I am the black sheep of my family, of my black family. I don't have a color problem. I see everything black. I remember them telling me, black is not a color, color is not black. Nat King Cole was black. Black makes sense. Black make no sense. No sense being black, not making sense. Oops, I just had a blackout.
Thank you, sir. I thought there were two, I thought we had four.
We did have four.
Lynn Hamilton?
I'm sorry, who?
Lynn Hamilton?
Lynn Hamilton. Please come forward, state your affiliation with the district and your name, please.
My name is Azane Tani. Good evening. I'm going to yield the rest of my time. I think I echo the sentiments of the two gentlemen who just spoke. But I've had 4 children in this district. I still have 3 active, and former Marine. I think, speaking from as a parent, I think we have a responsibility as a board. We rely on you guys to make decisions that affect our children. And we elected you guys to these positions not to be timid or not to be intimidated by us or a few of us. I expect personally you guys to speak to the issues, whether emotionally, but I expect you to be objective to the issues, and whether some of us feel intimidated by that, that's irrelevant, so long as you put the well-being of our children front and foremost. So I completely agree with speaking strong to the issues and bringing it all to the board, and board making constructive decisions that affect all our children. You know, a few parents may be left out of that decision, but if it, you know, at the end it benefits the children, most of the children, these are some decisions that we can live with. So I call on this board, first of all, to support each other, all right? Support each other and address issues as they come. Thank you.
Thank you. And who's next? Laura?
Thomas Hudson?
Okay, Mr. Hudson, if you can state your name and your affiliation with the district, please.
Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Thomas Hudson. I have 2 children in Woodland District Schools. I just retired from the Marine Corps. My wife and I had the opportunity to move anywhere within the United States, but because of the racial diversity and the wonderful school district that's here, we felt that this was a place that we could call a home, and we love the school district tremendously. One thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact of the issues that happened with Miss Amen. One of the things that I think needs to happen, that as a standing board member, because I read over after that newspaper article, I was a little floored, because in January when the elections were happening and it came to light about the racial issues and the threats that she was getting, we were floored that this was happening here in this community. We thought that it was a pretty tight-knit community, and this didn't happen. So when this came about, we were hoping that some law, some judicial justice would come down. However, it did not, and we took a look at the writings from the judge and what he put to the case, and it didn't look like there was very much evidence on Ms. Amen's behalf. I think what needs to happen in the future is that any standing board member here, as it was reflected earlier, that there needs to be a support amongst all the board. If something like this happens in the future, there needs to be some sort of collection of that, to protect the board itself. Something on behalf, it could happen to any one of you. I think that there needs to be some sort of information collective, and I think the board needs to set up something to have that as record of what goes on. Because as it stated, as I stated a little bit before, is that there wasn't any evidence on behalf of Ms. Amen. So I think that if it, when it occurs, if it ever occurs again, that this needs to be collected in case something might happen to her records or any one of you, the board members, that it can be housed and it has a separate collection somewhere that you guys can have at your disposal to protect yourselves and protect the board. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it for citizen statements, Laura?
As far as I know, yes, is that, no, okay, yes, that's it.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, I didn't know. We had 2 new people come in. Are they making statements? Are you here for a statement? No. Okay. Now, can I ask, sir, who are you? I thought so. And your beautiful wife? Okay, that's what I thought. Welcome to our board meeting. Okay. Okay, let's move forward with the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Renee,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. I did want to just point out something. I know we had gotten a email regarding revised board policies. The ones that were approved under consent agenda are listed on the agenda, and they can be found on the website for those that may be looking for that information. Next up, we have an action item. Can I get a motion to approve the 4 FTEs for bilingual professionals for 2nd and 3rd grade dual language classes?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. great. We're moving forward then to reports and discussions. Just wanted to provide an update, especially to the community. I know the board is aware of the superintendent search. As you all know, we've been working on finding a replacement for our retiring superintendent. And since August, we met last night, December 15th, we had a community forum, a stakeholders meeting, meet and greet with the finalists, and we also interviewed the finalists. So now we're working on the next part of that superintendent search, deciding on which one we'll pick to serve as the new superintendent of the district. Do you all have any questions, or do you have any comments at this point?
I just appreciate all the work that went into last night, and it was a big event, especially the time frame, but being there, I thought it was really successful, and I thought we got really good feedback. So I appreciate everyone that showed up and was part of the planning process.
Yeah, I think we had about 34 participants, a great cross-section of the district. A third were probably staff, a third were parents, and about a third were community members, would you say? We had a couple of passport.
Yeah, it was cool seeing like the past board members. Someone from Champions was there. It's nice to see. Also, Lori, thank you for being greeting everyone.
Yes. So it was a pretty good event. Do you have anything to say, Joe, about the process?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, I've really been so happy with the process. I mean, for folks who, I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm sorry I'm at home. For folks who haven't been keeping up with every step along the way, there have been a lot of steps along the way. And from IASB's really wonderful support and utter professionalism to the candidates that applied. I mean, we've had such a great, cross-section of candidates that were really, really impressive, to all of the work that you've done, Dr. Little. It's just been a really, really outstanding process. And it's given us a chance to get to know our district even better. And having the folks in the community and hearing their voices and having the chance to talk to our finalists, was just a really wonderful process. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, all of you all for the work that you're putting in to find a new superintendent. Thank you to Martha Gutierrez, who has been guiding us in the HR process, as well as the IASB consultants that have done a lot of the earlier footwork in getting the candidates to us. So anything else before we move forward? We will hopefully make an announcement at the January 27th board meeting on the new superintendent. That's still our goal. I think we're on track to do that if everything goes well. Next up, we have a written report on mandated reporter for board members. This is part of the Regional Office of Education's compliance visit scheduled for February. Board members need to be made aware that we are mandated reporters, and we have to sign and acknowledge the statutory requirement that school personnel report suspected cases of child abuse and neglect. And Laura, I guess you'll have us sign that at the end of the meeting? Yes. Okay, will that be in person, or is that DocuSign?
No, it's in person.
In person, okay, that's fine. So we'll all of us have to sign it, and then Joe will have to do DocuSign.
Or we can drop one off. I'll get Joe to sign it, sure.
Okay, or DocuSign works.
DocuSign.
It's okay to do it electronically.
Carla, can I say one thing before
Yes.
we move on, just for the community to know? We're having some audio problems tonight, so this is being live streamed and taped, but that's why Brooke has been running around and trying to fix it. But we were just so you know, we're having some, if people are trying to watch, we are trying to fix the problem, so it's hard to hear at home.
Okay. Any questions about this mandated reporting and this document we all have to sign tonight? Are you all okay with that, or do you have questions about it? Okay. Okay, let's move forward then. We have a written report in our packet on the bus lease extension. The current bus lease with Midwest Transit expires at the end of the school year. Chris, do you have anything that you want to, just a quick summary for the board, or?
Yeah, we went through, the lease was 2 years. As with everything these days, you're seeing incredibly quick rising prices across the board. We thought this might be coming down. There's also supply issues as well. One of the things with the buses is that in our first year of the lease, we didn't necessarily use them until March. So immediately we thought about, well, instead of going off for a new lease and new buses, what about extending the lease? Because as you can see, estimates are at about a $500,000 increase for actually going out and leasing new buses. So we've got some pricing back on extending the lease. We got 1 year and 2 year pricing. 1 year pricing didn't make sense. 2 year pricing makes a little bit more sense. It's still pricey, an increase of over $200,000. Not necessarily satisfied with that price, so we've been negotiating back and forth. January, I will have another report for you to see if we're able to move the needle, but that's just what's coming up.
Okay, questions for Chris? Okay, then we'll move forward then to the written reports on district fees. We would expect to have this as a action item for our January meeting. Let's see, I'm sorry, what?
On those fees,
I'm sorry, can you speak into the microphone?
I said on the fees, I'm a little bit concerned. I know that it's hard, times are hard for us, as a district, but times are also hard for families. And I just don't know, and it's not up, it's just discussion, but I don't know if having families pay more, it might not seem like a lot, $15 might not seem like a lot, but it could be a lot on families. I mean, we're still feeding people as a district, so I just want to put it out there that I'm a little bit concerned about, not a little bit, a lot concerned about those fees.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns about the fees?
Do you want me to talk a little bit about?
Yes, please, go ahead.
There's two parts to this. The $15 portion is the portion for K through 2. That's with e-learning, everybody now is going to be 1-to-1. Every time we've added 1-to-1 to a grade level, we've increased by $15 it's for the price of the Chromebook, plus everything that goes with the price of the Chromebook. That's the 15. There's no intention to just jack prices up just because we can raise prices. There was the addition of $5 for everybody. The $5 is just to keep up with inflation. We've gone, the last 3 years, we've said, let's not do this, let's not do this, let's not do this. Inflation is spiking, $500,000 for a bus. So, we're not even keeping up with inflation. And just the thought was, we'll try to make the increase modest this year. The last thing that you really want to do is hold off, and then say, well, now we're going to raise it by 15%, and that's going to be $45. That's always a sticker shock. That was just kind of the why behind it, but obviously, discussion to follow.
Any other questions, comments for Chris? Okay, we'll see that on the January board meeting.
I had a quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Chris, do you have any data, like compared to like 56 or any other nearby districts, like what's their process or what are they doing?
For
their fees, are they similar increases, or are they?
I don't know if they're incurring any fee increases. I haven't checked into that.
Okay.
It was a few years back, we actually did studies about what fees are
overall
in the surrounding areas overall, and ours are
okay.
They're beneficial for the community. So I could look into
We
that.
can certainly get that to you.
Yeah, and again, discussion, maybe next time we'll just know kind of what other nearby districts are doing.
Do you want that as part of the governing board packet and the decision-making?
Yes.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Joe, on the phone, do you have any questions before we move forward?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up then, we'll move on. We do have a written report also in the packet on non-resident tuition fees. The state regulations require that the Board of Education approve a tuition amount to charge non-residents. And let's see, we are looking at a non-resident fee of $15,912. Are there any questions about that fee? Do you want to say anything, quick summary on that,
Um,
Chris?
This is almost general housekeeping. This is what we do every year. It's, we provide an education to our community, our students. Any students wishing to join the Woodland community that come from another district, there's a fee associated with it. Per state regulation, you take the operating cost per pupil, and you can multiply it by 110%. This is pretty much common practice in all of the districts.
Yeah. So we will see this again, on the January governing board meeting agenda for approval.
Correct.
So if you guys have questions, let us know. Okay, pretty standard, like Chris says, we do this every year. Written report on the elementary office relocation. As you guys know, we're in the process of unifying Elementary East and Elementary West. We talked about, I think it was last month, the centralizing the office. So there is a report also in your packet. Chris, did you want to give us an update on that or quick overview?
There's some preliminary drawings in the packet as well. Obviously, having the unification plan in place and having offices at the far ends of each side of the building don't make sense operationally. We've got Wold working on what the costs might be. There's an estimate out there, it's gonna be upwards or close to $600,000. There's structural involved with it. There's HVAC that's involved with it. But at the same time, it's a unification plan, and that there's some efficiencies by combining offices as well, so.
Questions?
Is this a summer, like, 2022 project? Is that where we're kind of?
Summer of 2022.
Okay, cool.
We'd be looking for January approval to go out to bid, and then they could get the bid out as early as the beginning of February, and we could have approval of the bid in February, we believe.
Very cool.
Chris, will health office services be kind of centralized and attached to that main office?
Would they be attached to the main?
Or, nearby?
Mr. Wolberg, why don't you stand up and?
The current plan is the current plan is that the health offices are directly adjacent to the office, so right there.
That's what I meant, not.
Yep,
not
right there,
attached.
not connected in it, obviously, but right adjacent in that hallway.
Okay, I don't see it on the plan, though.
It's not part of
Oh,
that
okay,
plan.
okay.
We're using existing classrooms
Mhm.
and repurposing those classrooms as a health office.
Okay, okay. Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions? That was a very good question, Lizzie. Thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions?
I'm sure it's part of the longer-term plan, but I'm curious, when the time comes, what will happen with the existing office spaces?
Sure.
Do you want to talk about that, Chris?
I would say, we'll get the expert up here.
Great question. So what we have currently is, actually, the office, the current Elementary East office is going to be able to be repurposed into 2 classroom areas. And then the existing office over at Elementary West, we're still going to be able to utilize those 3 offices, still finalizing, obviously, what will be in those offices, but looking at social work, psychologists, and then utilizing that area also for evaluation work that we're able to do, so we have a designated space for that.
Nice, thank you.
Other questions? Anything further, Chris, before we move to the next item?
I don't think so.
Oh, before we do that, Joe, on the phone, did you have any questions?
No, I don't. We,
Oh, sorry.
Chris took us through this in finance committee, so I have a pretty good understanding of it. I just think it makes a lot of sense to try to consolidate, along with bringing 2 schools to one. I think the benefit is that it's going to make it, if we decide to move forward with it, it'll really make it feel more like one school, and be a lot easier for our staff. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Then the final written report this evening are the strategic plan goals. Again, that's in your packet. Are there any questions or comments about the strategic plan goals? Are we, do you want to just give a brief update, or
Sure.
where do you?
Sure. Briefly, I can, good evening. Briefly, you saw in there, what we tried to do is to take every area and tell you where we've been from July until December. When these goals were all created, and many of you were part of the over 100 community members that made these goals, it was pre-COVID. So many of these goals you'll see are things that would be happening pre-COVID. I'm super proud of all the work that our teachers and our administrators have done, taking those goals and making them, continuing to move forward in this time where we're in this pandemic. So some of the goals, for example, are certainly not where we would like them to be, for having like our students being, parents volunteering more with our students outside of school. There's things we could not do because of COVID, but you'll see when you read this, there was many things we were able to do, and we've taken them to the next level. So I won't go through every area, but there's a lot of things we've done, and there's things on top of it that we've taken a look at. When we talked originally about student well-being and equity, we never thought we'd be talking about COVID and how our testing has really helped in that area to keep students in school, to keep all students in school. You also see in there the future plans of where we're trying to go with different things. Our finance and facilities, we're really trying to focus on making things more electronic. So the work order system that we've been working on is a big area. So you'll just see in all of these, I'm really, really happy and proud of the work that the people that have been working on them have done and what we're hoping to continue to do in the future. So you'll receive another update in June.
That's good. I was moving forward in my thought to the fact that when we have a new superintendent, we'll have to pull the community together with that new superintendent and come up with more, with a new strategic plan. So looking forward to that. So this is a good one to build off of. This overview, will it go up on?
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So there's two things that, there's an overview that you saw in your board packets that kind of highlights each of the areas. I recommend anybody, please go on our website and see that. That'll be posted after the board meeting. And it just gives you the highlights from each area, what we're working on and what we hope to work on in the future.
And do you guys have any questions about the highlights before it's put on the website? Or is everybody okay with it? Joe, are you, anything to add?
No, I'm really excited about the next round of strategic planning, and I appreciate Dr. Casey, you and your team and all the hard work you've done, especially considering the big, monkey wrench that COVID threw into meeting our strategic plan goals. But thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to commend, again, the creativity that people have had to do when doing this. So, for example, our middle school, Mrs. Drake is here, Rake and Run, where we went out and helped seniors in the community. Again, that was all part of our strategic goal, but how do you do that in this time? So there's been different things that people have had to get really creative and think out of the box, and they've done that. So we'll continue to do that until the end of the strategic plan.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for the work and especially for the creativity. Okay, so we'll move forward then. Next up, we have board improvements and operations. Many of our members had the opportunity to attend the joint annual conference, which is the Illinois Association of School Boards, Superintendents, and Business Officials Conference. That was held November 19th through the 21st in Chicago. Do you guys anyone want to talk about highlights from your attendance or things that you learned at the conference? I'll start with Corey. I see you nodding. So.
Yeah, again, it was an awesome opportunity. I remember that was one thing that a lot of you guys talked about coming into being a new board member, is like a conference that you should really look forward to. It was interesting being at a conference again. There's no question about it. I'm a conference goer for the most part, being a teacher. So it's interesting seeing everyone again and being in a place like that. But all the sessions were amazing. It seems like the turnout was great. Lots of standing room only in some of the sessions, the more popular sessions. But just getting that kind of choice, like sitting through more, learning about ESSER funds and like new teacher programming and stuff like this was really helpful. The keynote was amazing as well, and just a very well-organized conference. So I look forward to attending in the future.
Yeah, I think it helps us be better board members to get that kind of professional development all in one place. Anna, do you have any comments or highlights?
Yeah,
I went to a really, really good session about community engagement, and it talked about, they talked about how, Brianna and I both went, and it talked about how engagement with your community works both ways, and how if we're asking people to provide us with their input, that we should, kind of show the good faith to use that input and demonstrate how we've used that input. And one thing that I found really interesting was they talked about how part of community engagement is educating people about what our role is, and I think that's super important, and maybe even something that we might consider for like strategic plan when it comes to be that time. And one just really practical thing that suggestion that I heard was explaining to people like you did tonight about the citizen statements, that when they make statements to us that we can't always respond, and kind of explain why that is. Like, that's something I would like to see us do that at every meeting, because I think it is kind of an awkward, dynamic of people are talking to us about things that they're passionate about and that are really important to them, and we can't always respond in a way that kind of feels like would be natural for us normally. So just little things like that I found really helpful. That was my favorite session that I attended. Then also I attended a session about being both a parent and a board member, which was also really, really good, because I feel like it's such a complicated issue. So I really enjoyed it, and same as Corey, I can't wait to go back and do it again. It was really useful.
Anything?
Oh, yes. Including the 3 general sessions, I was able to attend 11 sessions total. So I will try to be brief. I could spend, each one of these sessions I could see as a future board discussion to share everything I learned. So I went to Coming to Order, helping your board make meetings more effective. So that was just, I wanted to be brushed up on OMA and kind of what Laura does to help us. Joe has my notes for the electric school buses and Future Green's Bus to Grid initiative. So it was one district that worked with an energy consortium that went from solar panels to using electric buses to then having storage for electricity. So they made revenue from their solar panels. Next was what your superintendent wants to say and can't, effective board and superintendent relations. So I thought that was good, as we're going to be getting a new one. So it's just from the perspective of a superintendent, kind of what they're looking for and what we as board members should remember. The same one Anna talked about, every voice matters, engaging those we serve. So I won't repeat any of that. And then reflect, refine, represent, equity through collaboration. So it was the journey of one particular school district who, similar to us, had a lot of languages spoken. It was like 54 languages in their district, and they implemented and sustained a guiding coalition of diverse community members and staff to lead initiatives that reflect the values. So in 4 years, they went from an idea being formed about a coalition to having 4 subcommittees, and it involved parents and staff and students. And nothing was going to pass through the coalition unless it also passed through the students first. So I thought that was kind of awesome. School mental health policy to practice. So it talked about some bills that are making their way through legislation about how we can address mental health issues, and the kind of end result of that was legislation in and of itself can help some districts but really hurt others. So as a district, we could set our own policies in terms of how to best help students. Number 9 was empowering students to support peers regarding mental health. And it was in a high school, and they were one of 80 schools that were selected to pilot the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program. So it was giving each student a 6-week training session of how to remain friends with their friends. That was the number 1 goal, stay friends, but also recognize if that person needed to be reached out to, if that person needed to be led to an adult. And that's where the program for the students stopped. Their end goal was get your friend to an adult. And then the last one was the board member parent hat that I attended with Anna. So that was like we were able to go through some really specific scenarios and kind of discuss amongst ourselves, what would you do as a parent? What would you do as a board member, you know, now that you're both?
Yeah, that was a busy 2.5 days for
Yes.
you. Yeah, that's very good. Lizzie,
I'll
anything
mention-
you want to share?
Yeah, I'll mention two, and the first is to publicly commend Dr. Little, Dr. Casey, and Brooke Hagstrom, the communication manager, for their presentation, Crisis Communication, Building Trust When Tensions Are High. And it outlined everything that they've done during COVID in terms of communicating to the public and building trust in this time. And I truly have to say that of the sessions that I've gone to over the past several years, this one was one of the best. Because when we go to these things, sometimes you hear interesting stories and, you know, kind of neat things districts are doing, but sometimes I walk away going, okay, but like how can I take that and do something with it in a district? I like actionable steps. I like to be able to walk away with concrete things. And this definitely did. If anyone was there, they could go back to their district and they could use this as an example and a template of how they could handle crisis communication. So kudos to you guys. One other I'll mention that it was something kind of a new perspective. It was social emotional learning. It was put on by some representatives from Edmentum, which is an online education and learning program. And they used, it's another organization called CASTLE that evaluates social emotional learning. And they had 3 categories of social emotional learning: self-awareness and self-management competencies, self-management and responsible decision-making, and then relationship skills and connection building. And whenever I've always read and heard discussions about social emotional learning, it's always just has to do with what we're doing for the students. I'll make some copies for you guys, but they also had a kind of a little rubric or competencies, not only for students, but for teachers and administrators. And what can we look at in teachers and administrators in terms of their ability to support social emotional learning, you know, for their staff or administrators or superintendents for their administrators.
Can you say that again? I think you kind of lost me. So what are the categories again?
They kind of looked at 3 parts of social emotional learning: self-awareness and self-management. And they had competencies, so then it would say the student, I can understand and manage my emotions in ways that allow me to be present for listening and learning. And then they had self-management and responsible decision-making. So for a student, I can make responsible decisions as well as set and achieve goals. And relationship skills and connections. I feel connected to the people around me and can establish and build relationships. So that's what they looked at for a student. But then they also went as far as teachers. I can understand and manage my emotions in ways that allow me to create a safe classroom and be present for learning. And then for an administrator, I can understand and manage my emotions in ways that allow me to create a self-building or district, allowing me to be present for learning and listening to the needs of those I support. And so for each of those kind of competencies, they said, you know, what would it look like for a student? What would it look for a teacher? What would it look like for an administrator?
Wow.
And I just thought that interesting because, again, all I've ever heard of is our students, but we have to recognize that teachers, administrators also have social emotional needs so that they can better serve their students.
Yeah,
So
that's very important.
I'll
Yeah.
make some copies and pass them up. So I just thought that was a different perspective that I'd not ever met.
And I know you had some obligations, professional obligations, so you weren't able to attend. And Joe, did you have anything to share?
Yeah, sure. Want to echo Elizabeth's praise of the presentation that Brooke and Dr. Casey and you put on. That was it was really, really well done. I totally agree. I think a lot of times in conferences and workshops, you get a lot of stories, and it's not always stuff you can use, but you definitely laid out a plan of action that a district can use in a time of crisis to communicate with community members, and it was just really, really well done. I was super proud. And I guess, I went to some great workshops. Sticky legal issues was good. That made me very happy about how we do what we do, and made me think a lot about Ray and his good advice and guidance. There was another one. Well, I guess I'll cut right to the end, which is one of the keynotes was Anthony Jack, who I thought had a really interesting story. He was a sociologist, a professor from Harvard, and he talked about he talked about how schools, it was mostly about higher ed, but how schools can help students feel like a part of the school environment. Like, how do you help a kid once the kid gets into, the school of his choice? Or I thought of it in terms of, gets into a class or gets into a new grade or gets into, a new school, matriculates through our schools. How do we make those kids feel like a part of it, and then give them the support they need when they inevitably face challenges, and think about what school is like through the eyes of a student. He was really good. I found him very, very interesting, and he helped me think about schools in a different way. So I really appreciate that. That's all.
Right.
Enough from the bat phone.
What about you, Lori? Anything you want to share with?
No, I think
the board?
the ones I went to, everybody summed up. I agree. I was really proud to serve next to you and Brooke, and we had some great questions. We had people contact us after the session, asking us for information and wanting to talk to their superintendents about some of the things that we had tried to do. So that was really nice. We also attended a pre-session early in the morning with the Illinois Association of School Superintendents on women in leadership, and I thought that was a great session too. I enjoyed that one. So again, the one that you had, the one that you just mentioned, Anthony Jack, left a lasting impression on me too. It reminded me of when you do everything you can to get into a college, but once you're in that college or once you're in that high school, and you don't belong, you don't feel like you belong, and what do you do during spring break when everybody else is going away on spring break, but you can't afford to stay where you're at because you can't afford food or you can't afford other things? It really opened my eyes to some things that I hadn't thought about. So
Yeah, diversity, equity, and real inclusion. And, what does that really look like in those academic settings?
So like Joe said, I walked away and I thought, boy, I hadn't thought of it in that light. And I love walking away from sessions where you think like, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. So I liked it.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I do have to commend Brooke and you for the excellent presentation. I got to be a part of it, and we got a lot of really good feedback. You were having people come up to you. I know Brooke, we couldn't get out of there. There were so many people that wanted to talk about the presentation and just asking for advice, as board members. I did attend the delegate assembly as well. That went very long. Everything under consent agenda was pulled out, or pretty much, and discussed on the floor, but nothing unexpected happened in terms of the vote. The votes were exactly what we had agreed upon, but it was just a long session because people wanted to debate everything. The most impactful one for me actually was the other opening session, where the teacher.
Oh, Joe Dombrowski.
Say his name?
Joe Dombrowski.
Yes, that was so impactful to me because you know what? It talked about allowing people to be their true selves in the work environment. So whether whether you're gay, straight, black, white, Asian, you're bringing your whole self to the work, to the classroom, as an administrator, as a board member, and that if we respect people for who they are and let them just be their true selves, they become their most creative self. And I just thought that was just such a beautiful presentation and the way he handled it just was really, really impressive to me. And I just would like, I love to see us fully embracing each other. I think some of the citizen statements spoke to that tonight too. And I just think we do have to be better with empathy, as one of the speakers suggested, and allowing people to be their true selves so that we can all be the best people that we can be. So that was really impactful to me, as well as the professor from Harvard that talked about diversity and inclusion. Anything else? Chris, did you want to say anything?
Sure. It was nice to be back after.
Yes.
Obviously, we've missed it due to the pandemic. Great keynote speakers. When I go down, I kind of take some more of the technical. So the very first one I went to on Friday morning was about FOIAs. I won't necessarily bore you about that. But I like to see the ones that have anybody from downstate, just to hear what's going on. Also, there's always legal ones that will tell you about what's coming up and what's going to happen in the future and what's down the pipeline. And in particular, I like to get down to the vendors as well and see what's going on, what the trends are. And I think we even talked about this. I spoke to the vendor who's building the electric bus plant in Joliet. We spoke for quite a while, and you know, I tried, but we are not going to be their beta testers for once they open up the plant. It would have been nice. But I've got this card. I've got his information for when the plant opens. It's a long process that goes there. But no, as always, great conference. There's a lot to learn, and there's not just from the sessions or the keynotes. It's, you know, you learn from each other too. So you network down there, and you get to see what other districts are doing. It's always
That
a
is
good.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I did on Sunday morning was attend the advocacy. I do that every year to see any updates are coming down in terms of legislative advocacy, whether at the state level or the federal level. And nothing new. They did have a speaker come in this time, which was different. A young woman from Chicago came in and talked about her advocacy work and how it really had to do with her child's hair and allowing the child to wear natural hair. And apparently there's now, she has actually a new law coming to Illinois as a result of the parents' advocacy. So I forget I should have written it down. I didn't bring my notes with me. I don't know, do you know if that has passed? Maybe I could bring it to the board the next time.
I
but
think
it's-
it has passed.
Okay.
I can
'Cause
check
know
it out.
it was out
too.
of committee, but, so it was voted out of committee, but, so that was really good. They had her come in and talk about it. And as it so happened, she also makes vegan ice cream. And she sells it pop-up at the place in Waukegan.
Oh, at the.
Big Ed's.
Big Ed.
Oh, sure.
She does pop-up ice cream with sales with Big Ed's. So it was very good. She brought samples for everybody. So one of the things they did also was each school district that attended, they had us ask questions about, okay, what problems are we having in terms of advocacy? And then giving us examples of how we can move past some of the issues. So obviously, the problem I brought up was the state authorized charter schools and the way the funding is really draining Woodland, and, you know, it inhibits us from, you know, really giving the kids here the best education possible. And the fact that we've had legislators support legislation for it, but then it never gets out of committee. And so they, once again, recommitted, IASB and that advocacy team did recommit to trying to help us through once we get this legislation written, how do we, what do you call it, advocate, I guess, go down to Springfield and advocate to try to move some of this legislation out of committee. These are big issues. They're, you know, we're talking you know, these are equity and inclusion issues that we're fighting here that no one seems to, but it's a hard issue because we have a, you know, we're the David and they are the Goliath in this situation because they have all the money, they have all the resources, they have the power, and they are putting, you know, this, the Charter School Association is putting pressure on these elected officials at the state level to not move our legislation out of committee for a full vote.
Maybe we
So,
should start looking
It's
at,
a big issue.
maybe we should start looking on the federal level.
We have.
I said maybe we should start looking more on the federal level and see how it affects things like the Commerce Clause, because we believe it's a private school that's operating and taking our funds from a public school. Those are things that we can do, but you gotta be real creative, and we gotta have a lot of money for big lawyers. But I think it will pay off, not just the civil, and it may fall under civil rights.
Okay. Well, I think those are things we have to keep, like you say, being creative and talking it through and trying to figure out. So in this coming year, let's, you know, maybe renew our efforts on this issue. Okay, but that's, anything else you want to share about the conference? Okay. Next up then, this, again, we're in the part of the board discussion where we're talking about future recaps, board meetings, anything that you guys want to see on a future agenda. Any concerns that you want to address?
Well, I'm deciding how to state it without getting in it. 'Cause how did I phrase it in the email to you? Board discourse?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I have questions about what's standard protocol and expectations about how we talk with each other, because we do have to follow OMA, and you know, I could ask a question, but I think that the whole board should get an answer, or you know, if common themes come up in citizen statements, how do we then move to discussing those themes as a board?
Yeah, this is definitely that part, that time in the agenda where we, say for instance, the citizen statements tonight, this would be an opportunity to say, well, we've heard several things tonight, how do we want to handle that? Do we need to make a statement? Do we need to, you know, put it on the future agenda for discussion, things like that? You're right, this is exactly the point in the meeting
Okay.
where we would start to make those kind of decisions. Based on our advice from the attorney on the statement that was read, we should not put that on as a future agenda item, so I'm hoping you're not going to suggest that.
No.
Okay, good. We need to let the courts work through that. I did want to make clarification, I think someone asked about the board putting out a statement denouncing hate,
We did that.
hateful acts and hate speech. We did that. We actually did that back in March, when this was happening.
February.
February, right?
February?
We
yeah.
did that.
Yeah, I think, we talked about it in February, but I almost think it happened in
We did a
March.
resolution in March.
Yeah,
I think because maybe Mr. McLemore is not a part of our district,
yeah,
so they may not have followed it. We have done that.
yeah. So we
As a
did work
board.
with the NAACP, and I think he's gone, but we did work with the NAACP. We came up with a statement, and we did denounce, you know,
We did.
discriminating behavior and hate speech and the death threats and things like that against board members and, you know, administrators. They were getting, believe it or not, our administrators were getting, people were speaking really
Nasty.
bad towards them. It got really ugly back between January and
Really March.
probably June of last year. It was a horrible time to be in public education, I think, and a lot of anger was taken out not only on the board members, but also on our administrators and our teachers. So I think the union even came to us and asked us to denounce the hate speech they were getting. So we did that. But in terms of other discourse, what's on your mind?
I know it was a tight deadline, but I didn't feel, and I don't know if this is an incorrect expectation on my part, so that could be, but I didn't feel as included as I thought I would in some of the planning steps for, say, the superintendent search. And to me, it seemed a bit late when we got the official starting time, knowing that I did have to try to set up a sitter. So I wasn't sure if there were standard protocols of when board members should get information in advance of things, along those lines.
Well, I think it's really what we agree to do, right, as a board. It's 7 of us. It's what we agreed to do. We laid out the agenda for the superintendent search back in
August.
July.
Oh, July, yeah.
So I think people, maybe because so I tried to keep everybody on target with the search, and there was a lot going behind the scenes, working with IASB on it, because they did the bulk of this original search. We did the community surveys, right? I think that was in August, that we then sent and we put an update on each of the agendas each month, right? So they did so we got the surveys back. We put the announcement out for
I'm talking specifically between round 1 and last night.
Oh, yep, but and I was getting to that. We established back then that we were going to do this and get this done before the end of the year. We put those dates out there. I don't think people, and I know there was a lot going on, but I don't think the board paid attention to those dates. So even though you guys weren't paying attention to the dates, I was working those dates and trying to keep us on track with IASB.
I'm seeing the specific starting time.
Starting? I'm not sure. What are you saying?
I mean, no, I had the date secured, and like,
right.
I'm like, babysitter, I know I need this night, I'm not sure what time to start.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's because the time changed a little bit?
Yeah.
Because we changed from 5:30 to 6.
And I'm like, I kept checking the emails, and I'm like, do we have an official starting time yet? Do we have an official starting time
Well,
yet? So I don't know if
originally, our start time was supposed to be 5:30. But then we had a candidate drop out.
When was that communicated? That's what I'm trying to find, is did I miss something?
Yeah, I think you must have missed that.
Because it wasn't in any emails.
Yeah, that was at the.
And I had texted you.
Right.
Of, okay, so are we supposed to be there at this time, or this time? And you said you would check.
That was I'm pretty sure that was decided on at the board meeting.
I wasn't clear on it
Because remember,
either.
we talked about how to best get the 3, so I worked with all of you on that, how to best get the 3 candidates rotated through.
Right.
The best way to do it. You all sent
That's when
me
we had the
emails on
closed.
your thoughts on it, so I thought that we worked that out. And that day, you said that you needed to know the time, so we gave that broad time of, at that point, it was gonna be 5 to 10, that you would need to get a babysitter. But then we were able to refine it a little bit once we knew what the candidates wanted and what IASB wanted. But we discussed that here.
Was it me? Was I the only one that was confused about times?
No, I didn't, I
Okay.
wasn't clear either about what time we were supposed to be here, but it wasn't, as critical for me, because I didn't need a babysitter, but I also wasn't sure. So I think maybe it was something that kind of got lost in the shuffle of, just because, you're right, so much was changing, so quickly at the last moment, and, but yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't as big a deal for me, because I knew I had it covered, and my kids can stay home by themselves if they need to.
Right, but that's why at that last meeting, we asked you to block between 5 and 10, because we knew you needed a babysitter.
Right.
And then we knew we needed to refine it. We had to refine it after we got the candidates scheduled. But also, when we were looking at it before, I was thinking that we would come the same time as the stakeholders meeting, so that's why I said 5. But then after talking to ISB, she was like, no, you don't need to come then, because I thought we would need to start at the same time. And she goes, no, don't start then, start an hour later. So that was kind of the difference too. So she recommended that we started after that, and then also we lost a person.
Okay.
So then that rearranged the schedule again.
Okay.
So
I, to be forthcoming, I thought that the 5 o'clock was still in flux. So I was kind of waiting for a board email saying this is the official time we're starting, and to get that just with not advance notice. So I should have just said 5 o'clock to her and then
Yeah.
dealt with it as we went. So, okay.
Yeah, and you did the right thing by reaching out too. I think it's important that, if you have a question, then you reach out and get the question answered. So, okay, anything else? I think you sent an email too.
Yes, I had asked also to talk about board discourse, and I have a couple of specific questions. So one is, when people do come and speak and we, hear what they say, is it appropriate at this time of the meeting for us to discuss that, or would we put it on the agenda for a future meeting?
We can discuss it here, but
Okay.
if it's a situation where we would need to get more information before we discuss it, then we would send it back to the administrators, to Lori, and ask her to research it before we would discuss it. One thing we don't want to do is discuss things that we don't know about, right? If it's an item that should be discussed and closed, then we would move that item to close to discuss.
Okay.
But this is an opportunity that we would kind of recap if necessary, and then make decisions about how we're going to handle the information we received.
Okay.
Would you mind if I said something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. In past practice, when we're talking about putting an item on the agenda, we've kind of adhered to the idea of no surprises. So what that has meant, from my perspective, is that we have a chance to really vet the item and think about it, and school board members have the chance to read about it, get to understand it through the board packet, ask any questions of Dr. Casey that we might have, so that we don't have a conversation that we're not all ready for or not all briefed on. So if that gives you any insight, there have been a number of items over the course of time, some that I've suggested that we make our way through and make sure everybody knows what they need to know and has an understanding before, because it's an uncomfortable situation when you end up having to, you feel like you have to say something, but you don't really know what the other board member has meant by bringing it up. So it's just, I think it's a courtesy, but it also is the best way to get stuff done, because people don't, come out with an opinion that they really haven't thought through. That's all.
Yep, that's very important.
And then the other thing was, we've gotten a couple of emails lately about kind of the tenor of the conversations that the board has, and I would like us to either, I don't mind if we discuss it now or put it on for a future board meeting, but I have had people make the suggestion to me that the board commit to following, the ROAR expectations that we have for our students and staff and things like that, which I think is a really good idea. And we've had some times when, since I've been on the board, that has not been the case. So I am open to, the idea of discussing it in the future. It doesn't have to be right now, but I think it's something that we should discuss.
Okay, let me remind you that when we all came together, we got together with IASB on how the board would perform and work together, right? Those were our, what are we calling those?
Agreements.
Huh?
Agreements.
Our board agreement. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That explains how we all agreed how we would come to the board meeting, how we would prepare for board members, how we would respect each other, how we would, hold information confident, so you don't speak out about closed session items in public. Those are all the things that we agreed upon. So we have those in place, and they really should be in our board packet. And if it's helpful, And one of the things I don't remember if we did is have each board member sign it. But what we could do at the next board meeting is have each board member sign that board agreement saying how, because we've all agreed to it back, I think it was August. We all agreed to how we would conduct ourselves as board members. So yeah, we can bring that back in August as an action item and ask each board member to sign.
Yeah, I think
Just
that's
to
a good idea.
renew, just to review, because that way there's no, it's about no surprises. It's about, respecting other board members' right to disagree. It's about holding people, holding information that you learn in closed session, private and confidential, so that when it doesn't come back to the board, and because then you break a trust when you're speaking out about closed session items and then having your friends email the board regarding those closed session items. You're breaking a trust. So it's things like that, and we can bring it back put it back on the agenda so we all fully understand what we agreed to back in August.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because, that was a time when a lot of, change was going on the board, and I had some questions about, if there are expectations, I feel like they should be in the board agreements, because it's hard to work off of, well, that's protocol and it's how we've always done things. Like, to me, I feel like those things need to be on that piece of paper, because it's hard to keep track otherwise of what, like, I'm new here, I don't know what's the way that we've always done things. I know what I've been trained and what I've gone through in my training. And like I have said before, I'm happy to follow the rules, when I know them. But I think that is a perfect, solution to what I'm asking for.
Yeah, because we worked on those things together back in August on that board agreement. So we can just bring it back and refresh your memory. If we can put that into the Friday update to remind people, and then we'll put it back on the agenda, have people sign it in January.
I think, Carla, we should also put in there, though, how we treat staff and administrators as board members. Because when I walk into the school, I walk in as a parent. I don't walk in as a board member. I don't think any of us should be using our position as board members to get what we want from teachers and administrators. So if we're going to really talk about these agreements and how we're going to hold each other to a higher standard, that includes when we're in the schools and we're talking to teachers and administrative staff. We should not be using our positions as board members to make them acquiesce to what we want. It's just not right.
Right.
And I don't think we've had any real issues since the August agreement. I think everybody's been doing okay. So we might not necessarily care about each other when we leave. We want to be big friends and family, but when we're here, we're getting the work done. And that's what's important. And I think as adults, I don't know how a piece of paper is going to make us act better, but I'm willing to sign it. But I think we're here to do a job, and it's the job that they elected us to do for the community. So I don't want to operate, for me, on a bunch of feelings. Feelings are done. I leave that at my home. When I come in here, it's about work, and I want us to treat not only each other, but our staff, our administrators with respect, because they deserve that.
Yep, I agree. Joe, did you have something?
Yeah, I do. I think your suggestion to make sure that everyone signs the agreements is a good one. I also think it's just really important to remember that school board meetings are meetings that are held in public, and that we are, I would hope that we would continue to engage in civil discourse. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay. And sometimes people are going to be passionate about their opinions, and that's okay too. I mean, that took a while for me to get used to as a board member, but having an understanding of how we communicate with each other and how we, talk about the important issues of our school district, I think that's just a great idea. And I just want to make sure that, you know, everyone understands that, like, for conversations like this in board ops, that I think it's also important that everyone knows that, you know, we're focused on doing a lot of good work for the district, and we're focused on finding, you know, our next superintendent. We're focused on, you know, making sure our students are safe. We're focused on shield testing. We're focused on our vaccination clinic. Education today is busier now than it's ever been, and our district's doing a great job, and our administrators are doing an amazing job, and our teachers are doing an incredible job, and our kids are doing a good job. This is a tough time to be a student, and there's a lot that our district does really, really well. So to expect us to engage in civil discourse is totally fair. To expect us always to get along, or, you know, to always agree on everything, I don't think we're ever gonna. But that being said, having the idea that we're going to come together and we'll sign the document that we created in August and keep working on behalf of the kids and the community, I mean, that's just a really important thing. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it's important too that we don't use our social media to threaten. You know, I know we've had some instances where, you know, a board member's social media was used to threaten a administrator in the district. You know, we don't want to do that. We don't want to intimidate. Back to what you're saying, we don't want to use our positions to intimidate people that now work for you.
Or
so I
parents.
think we have to be
could add
real.
parents to that list too. We don't want to use, you know, our positions to intimidate parents.
That's right. We don't want to use our positions to intimidate each other either. So I think we have to be really careful about how we, back to what you're saying and what Renee's saying about, you know, how we talk to each other, how we present ourselves, because you're in a position of authority, if you will, over a teacher, over an administrator, over the superintendent. You don't want them to feel bullied. You don't want them to feel intimidated by your behavior. And it can easily turn into a situation where if you're putting something out on social media where the administrator feels threatened, and now your friends are commenting on that, and now they're piling on, that can be really scary for an individual to have to face that. So I think we do have to be very, very intentional with our words.
I would just argue that the same applies to, you know, parents, to anybody in the district, really. I mean, you know, I agree with what you're saying. I just think that it needs to apply across the board.
Oh, definitely.
But parents don't work for us.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Let me. And I don't want to get into a back
No,
and forth
it's
with
fine.
this, but what I want to help you to understand is the parents in the district. So a parent to parent, you're a parent, you're talking to another parent, you're on equal footing. But if you're a parent and a board member talking to a teacher, an administrator, you're in a position where they can feel intimidated because you could make their work environment more a tougher work environment for them. And if you're encouraging other parents to now attack this teacher or administrator, they are in a position where you could be affecting their livelihood. So it's more than just me and Brianna having an argument. You know, we're peers, we're equal, but you can't intimidate you should not intimidate a teacher, an administrator, you know, anyone that works in the district, because now you're an elected member of this district. They work for you. So that's where the difference is. But I agree with you, you know, as adults, we should definitely try to use our words in such a way where we're not, you know, trying to intimidate or bully anybody. So I agree with you there, but there's just a different relationship to me having an argument with Lori and threatening her versus you and I having an argument and threatening you. It shouldn't happen. But in Lori's case, you're threatening not only her person, you're threatening her livelihood. And so it's a difference. And then if you, again, have other parents pile on, that's intimidation, that's bullying. We wouldn't have the kids do that. So I think we just have to, as adults, overall, we should be careful with that behavior. But it definitely, when it comes to our administrators and our teachers. I think you wanted to say something.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if there is a disconnect, I wonder if there's a disconnect because maybe exactly what we've been talking about with our strategic plan and with what we want from our teachers and administrators, we want them to understand the person. I wonder if there's a disconnect, and because there's a disconnect, like for instance, you and I, we may talk one way, and we're fine with that with each other. We gel with each other that way. You know, my voice may be a little more stronger. That doesn't mean I'm angry with you. It doesn't mean that's not even an argument. That's just the way we talk to each other. As opposed to if I say the same thing to Lizzie in the same manner, she might be like, oh, why do Renee talk to me like that? Could it be a disconnect?
Like a kind of like a personality difference,
culture.
a cultural difference. Right, and that's why we do have diversity, equity, and inclusion training to help each of us understand how to connect with somebody that we perceive as different. And that's a work in progress. We have to do more of it. I agree with that. You know, and maybe in this coming year, we did the diversity workshop as a board. It's part of that team building process. We just have to continue to do team building and diversity and inclusion opportunities for all of us so we can better understand each other and, not take everything as,
Personal.
As an anger, said in anger. Because you might say it in anger because you disagree, but it's not like I'm angry at you, I just don't agree with this situation.
Right.
So I get
Which
that.
you could also apply to my social media posts. So, and in that situation, when I received phone calls from people on the board saying, hey, did you realize what you said, could have been interpreted as threatening? And I said, gosh, no, I didn't. That was not my intention. And I contacted the administrator and I think that she accepted my apology. And so, it was a situation where, I feel strongly about advocating for my kids and about, special education and those kinds of things. And I did, speak strongly and not, mean to intimidate or threaten and not mean any personal anger. But it was a really hurtful thing that we went through and I was reacting to that. So I did reach out, and do what I thought and what, the board members that I spoke to thought was necessary to make it right. So, I'm teachable. I'm willing to, admit if I've made a mistake or done something wrong. But I think that if we want to have these honest, open, good conversations, and like we, did last night during our meeting, we need to all be on the same page and agree that we're, I don't think it's so much about signing the piece of paper. I think it's symbolic of just saying that we're all on the same page together and that these are the things that we all agree and how we're all going to behave. And when we don't do that, we will make it right.
And there's trust.
Sorry, Joe got disconnected.
Joe got disconnected. Oh, is that why he's buzzing my?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Joe. But it's trust. We have to build a trust with each other because.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
I'm back.
Joe.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so we have to keep the team building. We have to build the trust with each other, or those conversations won't happen. And so goes back to, being trustworthy. So each of us has to work to be trustworthy with one another. And I think we'll get there and having those conversations. And but in the meantime, we have to keep moving forward. To Joe's point, we have a lot of big initiatives going on. And one of the most important things we'll do in this next month or so is to hire a new superintendent. So I do want to keep those things that are important in focus, but at the same time, find an opportunity to continue building this team so that we'll be stronger and more creative selves in helping move the district forward, because that's what the people elected us to do, right? Is to build a better district. You know, make sure we have the right administrative team in place so that, you know, we as a board working with that administrative team can really ensure that our kids get really good opportunities to thrive and grow. And so we want to keep that at our forefront. And I think we're doing a great job with that, and we just got to keep doing it.
I agree, there's a lot to do.
Yep.
And we're all here because we want to do it.
Yep, because that's what they elected us to do, is
I would just like to maybe suggest, in terms of the board agreements, that maybe semi-annually, we bring it back. It is, you know, signing a paper, it could be symbolic, but it would make it intentional and a reaffirmation, at least semi-annually, so that it just stays at our forefront, how we are supposed to conduct ourselves. And then maybe it won't get lost if we are definitely intentional about it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Anything further on board operations?
One more thing, I promise it'll be
Okay.
quick. I just wanted to know, since Dr. Casey said there were issues with the audio and people couldn't hear at home earlier, would it be possible to issue that statement that the attorney made earlier, or to at least provide a copy to us? Because I am getting a lot of questions about that matter.
Yeah, I can share with you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You can include it tomorrow on YouTube too, so.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah.
And if there's real questions, I said in my statement, I'm reachable. There's my board email, people Google me, you all Facebook me. I'm reachable, so they don't have to come to you. They can come to the source and get the information that they need. So for anybody who's watching, I'm available, but I'm not gonna do it at a board meeting.
Please don't.
I'm not.
That's, we're trying to avoid
Right.
that.
Yeah, but I'm available, I'm reachable.
Yeah, it's not a board matter, but
It's not.
we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we did have a FOIA request. Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you if there's no other comment on board operations.
One FOIA request from Lynn Ulrich on November 11th, due 11/18. The request was for the names and all insurances that District 50 has retained that will cover the health and well-being of children enrolled in and attending Woodlands District 50. Not limited to, but including health insurance, catastrophic insurance, mental health insurance, et cetera, should be included. That request was fulfilled.
Okay. And the correspondence, I think we can just send back the statement from the attorney. So if you want to pull that together, I can, it can come in my name, and we'll just say, you know, basically what this says here, and just explain to all the, I think we got a few emails on that, so let's send it back out.
Do you have that electronically? or-
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, we both have it,
Okay.
so. And we'll make sure you all get a copy of it, okay? I think that's it for freedom of information and board correspondence.
Can I jump in real quick? Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know where to put this one. I just wanted to thank a few people who helped with the vaccine clinic last week.
Great idea, thanks.
I don't know, yeah, it was something that was really cool to be part of. I was able to volunteer. Kyle Block did a lot of work, I know that. The Sign Up Genius was a great idea. But yeah, it was really cool to be part of that and see that our district was able to do that and work with IDPH. And then also Tobias, the golden retriever who was there, was a nice addition, I thought. So it was these little kids who were walking down the hall about to get a shot in their arm, and they were like terrified, but we told them there was a golden retriever at the end of the hall, and they were just, their eyes lit up.
Running
and-
down to get
Yeah,
it.
they were excited. So it was really cool that we got to offer the opportunity, and I'll be there again next week to help with the round 2.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kyle Block, Mike Wachowski.
Yep.
Several administrators, several teachers, a lot of people helped put that
Yeah.
event together. A little plug, we also have, it's coming up this week for the second dose for children. I believe we served close to 250, I believe, students were vaccinated, 5 to 11. We also have this week, Dr. Maychek has worked with SHIELD, and we'll be offering testing along with the vaccination clinic. So people can come and be tested if they would like to be tested. So
Do
we
you
have
still need volunteers for that?
always.
Yeah.
Okay.
As
I
board
will-
members, yes.
Yes.
Let me know, because I wanted to volunteer for the last
Sure.
one and I couldn't make it.
It's
so.
great to see, yeah, for sure.
Is in the testing pre-Christmas, is that for the greater
Yes.
Bernie community?
Yes.
It's for
I
community.
s-
yeah.
I saw it on Facebook. Has that been like advertised?
Sure, we just got approval, Dr. Maychek just got approval this week, just yesterday, I believe, is when we finalized everything. So yes, Brooke has put it out on our social media accounts, but we're sending it home as many ways as we can, but yeah.
Good.
It's for anybody in the Woodland community.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now. It's
Just
like a nice
Woodland
pop-up.
or-
Yeah.
Just Woodland?
Well, anybody that would
The
like to come.
greater.
The
Yeah.
reason that we're doing it is we're not seeing the cases we're seeing are not from school, but they're from home. So we're trying to allow parents, if parents would like to be tested, they can be tested. If their grandparent, anybody that, would like to be tested, we want them to be tested, so that we could catch it before it comes into school. So that's really the reason that the team has put it together.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, it was a really very well-run event, just hearing from different districts that kind of
Yeah.
had a little more chaotic. It was really organized. So again, everyone who worked on that, thank you.
So next month, you can put it on the board agenda under reports, like a recap, maybe.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Have Kyle and team maybe come if they want, or
Mhm.
however you want to handle it. Maybe it'd be a good report
Mhm.
to give out, because you'll have the totality of the clinics
Mhm.
at that point, plus the testing, so that'll be good.
That'd be good,
So we'll
yeah.
put that on the agenda. We'll also put under board operations, the board agreement.
Yes,
For
we have
people to
that.
sign,
Mhm.
review and sign.
Mhm.
Anything else? Okay. Hearing nothing else, another opportunity for citizen statements. Any citizen statements? There's- Oh, nothing, okay. And is there a reason to return to closed session?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Seconds.
Okay, all in favor, let's do a roll call vote. Roll call.
Sorry, Anna?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Joe?
Yes.
Lizzie?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, good night, everybody, and
Good night, everybody.
happy holidays if I don't see you before 2022.
Board members, before you leave, Joe's out. Before you leave, if you could go, I've got something